Pulpit Radio Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and here every Friday at 10:30 a.m., bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses, we're saving jobs, saving our community. Now, if I save a soul along the way, don't hold it against me. We'll just call that icing on the cake. Welcome to another version of the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and glad you could join me this morning. What a beautiful, beautiful Friday. What a great day to be alive. You can also go to marketingpulpit.com and follow the show and see what we're doing over here. We've been doing it now for 10 years plus. It's a long time in radio land. We've used different platforms. We have a variety of exciting hosts and co-hosts and guests. Just go to Marketing Pulpit and you'll see all the things that we've been doing for the past 10 years and get the information on how to contact some of these dynamic people we brought onto the show. And just glad you could join us this morning. Let's see. Also, my name is Robert Gatewood, of course, and I'm here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. I bring you the good marketing gospel. Now, the marketing pulpit, people have been asking me, every time I turn around, somebody's asking me again, what is the marketing pulpit? Well, it's more than just a radio show or a TV show. It's actually a mission. It's a ministry. It's a movement to empower and uplift business owners and workers who actually do 9-to-5 jobs, because at some point in their lives, they may transition over to become a business owner themselves. See, many people make that transition over the years, and we're proud to be instrumental in helping them make that transition. Because many people have the ideas, they have the energy, the zeal, the zest, but they don't quite have the know-how to move from being a 9-to-5 worker into becoming a successful business owner. And that's one of the things we do here, because I hate to say it, but you can't take that good job with you. When you go, it's over, it's done. But with a business, you can pass that down to your next generation, to your kids, family members. So you have all these options when you are a business owner. And so I'm glad to be able to do that, to help people make that transition into becoming successful business owners. Now, got a lot to talk about today, and tell you. But you know what happened? Let me tell you a little story. Like a Bernie Mac used to say, let me tell you a little story, tell you a story. Man, I gotta work on my Bernie Mac impression. Hold 1 second for a minute here. Let me get a few things going here. I see Sister Bell there tuning in. Hey there, Sister Bell, down in Carolina. Bless your heart. That was my neighbor for many, many years down in North Carolina. And just glad to have her tuning in this morning. Let's see what else we got going on here. Hey, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to be back in about a minute, so don't go anywhere. Marketing Pulpit, I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we'll be All right, I'm back. Thank you again for joining me on the show this morning. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. You know what happened? I left the office last night as I was going down the street. Matter of fact, before I even got on the street, I was looking out looked out the window, and there was this downpour. I mean, rain. It was raining cats and dogs. And so, I mean, I don't melt in the rain, but if I don't have to get soaked in the rain, I'm gonna take some precaution. So I stood there in the doorway first, and I waited and waited until it kind of calmed down just a little bit. So it wasn't raining as hard. Then I got in my car and it started raining even harder. I mean, we talking about torrential. We talking about trees leaning over, touching the ground. There was lightning over here. There was thunder. And I'm saying to myself, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to sit here in the car for a minute. So what I did, sit there, turned on me some Sirius XM, had the Soul Town music going. And so I'm sitting there and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting what felt like an eternity. This rain would not stop. I mean, it was raining for seemed like an eternity. I mean, I'm waiting for Noah to come by there, knock on the window and say, look, man, you want to jump in this ark? I mean, it was that much rain. So, but eventually the rain did subside. And hello to Laura. Thank you for tuning in this morning, Laura. Good morning, Elsa, one of the greatest attorneys in the land. Thank you. So I'm talking about this rain. So I'm sitting in this car waiting on this rain to leave. It would not stop. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it was going to rain forever. I was going to go build an ark. And then eventually the rain stopped. It didn't quite stop. You know, the rain kind of get to a point where you can still drive in it, but it hasn't stopped yet. So you got your windshield wipers on, and the lightning's still coming. And but there's a moral to this story, as most stories are that I tell. Suppose now, just suppose, let's back this thing up for a minute. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a COVID-19 crisis. And let's imagine that we're looking out the window at this COVID-19 and we're waiting on it to stop. We sitting there, we done gone out and bought us all this comfort food. We done got us our little Zoom set up, done got us some Netflix, done got comfortable, done put all our suits and things away, and now we walk around the house in pajamas and sweats all day long. But eventually, ladies and gentlemen, that storm is going to pass. At least we thought, at least we think, or at least we hope so. But let me just back up for a minute. Let me do the moonwalk for a minute. Suppose this storm does not pass. Suppose it's like last night when I was in the car waiting on that rain to stop. And it just kept going and going and going and going. What am I supposed to do? Sit there and go to bed in the car? Stay there forever? I got to get home. I'm hungry, I hadn't eaten. So at some point, we've got to make a decision. We can't stay in the car forever just because it's storming. And we can't stay in our houses and our comfort zone and our mental inside the car waiting on the storm to pass. We actually, at some point, we've got to shake it off and figure out what we're going to do with the rest of our lives. Now, the reason I'm saying this, because we're in the midst of this pandemic. And once upon a time, back in about the end of February, early March, we heard that this pandemic was going to be done by, people are planning for May. I mean, really, we were talking about May. We were talking about getting back on the road, getting things back to normal in May. I never forget, I was supposed to have been honored for this Hall of Fame event. Well, I've been on several this year. This has been my year for some reason. They had a Hall of Fame at Livingstone College I got. And it was another Hall of Fame award up here. It was a local group in the DC area. And it was initially set to take place in March. And they rescheduled it for June. I mean, they was like, man, we know this thing will be done by then. And I don't blame them. You got to plan. You got to make plans. Well, here we are now, end of July, going into August. And the predictors, the economists, the people in the know have said this thing is going to be with us throughout 2020. So, what are you going to do? You can't sit in the car forever because it's raining. You can't stay in your house forever because it's a pandemic. Now, of course, that brings up one of my questions too. So I got a couple of questions on the table today. One is, what do you do when our leaders politicize a deadly pandemic? That's the first question. And the other question is it time to change course? We already know that the 3-month prediction is past. We don't have a 3-month pandemic on our hand by any stretch of your imagination. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning to you. Good morning, Leon. How you doing there, brother? Leon said it must have been raining all over the world. Apparently, it was raining where he was too. So we have this rain. We have this raining indecision. It's raining. People trying to figure out what to do next. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to talk about later on. I'm going to talk about, is it time to go into permanent pandemic positioning. Now, don't misinterpret that to believe that I'm saying we're going to be in a pandemic forever. But you're going to have to make some decisions today as if it were going to be here forever. I know some of you all are saying, what you talking about, Robert? You mean I got to wear a mask forever? Well, you may have to wear a mental mask. You may have to stock up on mental comfort food. You may have to stock on some mental pandemic planning. This contingency plan of 3 months is done. Now let me talk about this. Let me talk about some of the things that are happening. Well, first of all, the school year. Many jurisdictions have decided that sitting behind the desk is done for this year. Now, what that does, many people say, well, okay, so the kids get to stay home. But we're going to talk about a little later is the impact, how that's going to impact people, whether you have a kid or not, because we're going to talk about supply chain. Also, we're going to talk about this political, I can't even get it out this morning, this politicalization of the pandemic. Also, I'm going to say this too. Now, last week I was kind of bent out of shape. I lost one of my friends, the legendary Patrick Ellis, who's been on radio WHUR for 40 years as a gospel legend. His show, Gospel Spirit. You can go to gospelspirit.com was the website that we built for him, my company. And so I was all bent out of shape. I'm still kind of shaken up about this because we're always talking about how people say, I don't know anybody personally who got the disease, or the people that I know that got it survived it. They came out okay. Well, I know somebody who was very near and dear to me, and he did not come out of it okay. He succumbed last Friday, right before I went on the show. And so they did a beautiful tribute on WHR this past Sunday. I sat down and listened to it. So people can still call in. You can go to his website, gospelspirit.com. I mean, great person. So why am I bringing that up again? Because, and I'm not going to be pointing any fingers today, but this politicizing of this pandemic is costing people's lives. We've lost almost 150,000 people in this country. Many of them we didn't have to lose. If this pandemic had been over, or at least flattened out by May, like it should have, or June, July, as many countries have, maybe my good friend Patrick Ellis would still be here. But no, we're politicizing something. We're politicizing health. We're playing politics with people's lives. That tells you how deep and sunken we can go as a country if we have our priorities out of kilter. Don't get me started. Don't get me all emotional again. Let's talk about some news. We'll come back to some of these stories because I did want to talk about some news today because you'll find a common theme on these news stories. They're business related. And it's an overriding question of what happens when leaders politicize a deadly pandemic. That's something that should never happen. Never, ever, 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 ever. The coronavirus death toll is rising. Now, I don't want to get into a doom and gloom position this week or this morning, but what I'm trying to make a point here. One is that as bad as this may sound, we still have to keep moving. But at the same time, we have to hold our leaders accountable. If not, they're going to get us all killed. Okay? This pandemic has killed more than 633,000 people worldwide. And of course, I'm pretty sure that number is higher. 15.5 million have been diagnosed with the disease. The United States has become the worst affected country in the world. The president always likes to be talking about how we're the first, we're the best, like something like we've never seen before. Well, here's one more for you. We are the worst affected country in the world, and it did not have to be. This is what happens when our leaders politicize a deadly pandemic. And it shows no sign of slowing. The death toll grew 18.7% last week over the week before. 1,039 new reported cases of deaths in the U.S. on Thursday. Now, a large portion of it is down south. And I hate to say accused of being political, but a lot of it's happening in red states where people were in denial about the pandemic. They didn't want to wear masks. They said it was a hoax. They said you're infringing on my freedoms. Well, now they're seeing this surge taking place. The United States has passed 4 million cases of the deadly pandemic. Now, this has ramifications on our business community. It affects us all, but I'm going to give you some tangible ways. Another big retailer just bit the dust. Ann Taylor, lost. Lane Bryant has just filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Now they join a long list of stores like Brooks Brothers, J. Crew, Neiman Marcus, J.C. Penney's, and others who have filed for bankruptcy protection during this pandemic. This is what happens when our leaders politicize a deadly pandemic. Jobless claims are climbing again because many people were placing their hopes on the fact that this pandemic would be done in 3 months, 4 months max. And now the predictions are this pandemic is going to be with us the rest of the year. The jobless claims are starting to go back up. And this is the first increase in 3 months. Like I said before, people were planning on that 3 months. They ready to pop the champagne and get back to work, go to the beach. Some people said, forget it, whether the pandemic is over or not, we're going to the beach. We're going to get our beach on. Well, we see how that worked out. That didn't work out too well. Now, here's some other news that's happening. I'm just telling you how this thing is affecting us and people in different industries. Now, big companies are cutting back on office space. Now, people in the real estate industry and particularly business real estate, this is once again, many of these industries were banking on the fact that by now, companies will be dusting themselves off, climbing back into their offices, bringing their people back to work. Well, many of those folks are not coming back to work because, well, at least not in their office, and some not even anywhere with the same company they were with, because people are working from home more. And so some of that rental space is not going to be used. So people have to be more proactive and resourceful if you're in that industry. Now, here's one. For many, no child care means no work. To all the mothers and fathers out there who are the primary caregivers of their children. Now, this is a really personal. This gets really personal with many of you, because if your child cannot go back to work and the daycare centers are closed, what are you supposed to do? You can't say, look here, little 6-year-old Susie, I'm going to give you the key. If you run out of milk, here's the car. Go down to the 7-Eleven, get you some milk. Here's the stove. Here's this how you use the gas oven. No, that's not happening. What that means is you're going to have to stay home too. That's the short of it. Can't give little Susie, can't teach little Susie how to use the gas oven, or little Keisha or Aisha, whatever her name. You end up staying home too. And by the way, you listen to the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. And we're here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Go to marketingpulpit.com and you can find out more about our show. You can find out about the guest. And if you need to reach me, you can call me at 301-839-2836. Now, here's a question I'm going to put to you. Many of you are employers. Many of you are employees. Will working from home affect your pay? Should it? Should it not? Should you get paid more? Should you get paid less? Will you accept less pay considering now you don't have to spend money on gas and clothing? And those are some decisions that are being made now that many, once again, were banking on the fact we wouldn't have to make those decisions because now here we are at the end of July. We thought we'd be back at work. We thought we'd be back to normal. Well, not normal, but as people have used this overused phrase, the new normal. Well, the new normal has taken on a new countenance because it's going to be extended. So if anybody wants to comment on this, if you've been working on this job for the last 5, 6 years, and suddenly the boss told you, so look, you can work from home, but we're not going to pay you as much because first of all, we can't see what you're doing half the time. You have opportunity now to do other things. So we're going to give you a 25% cut in pay. Would that be fair? Would you stick around? Or would you hail that as a good thing? One may prolong your job. It may give you opportunity now to do other things. So I'd like to hear your comment on that. Should your pay be adjusted because now you're working from home instead of going to the office? And good morning, brother Gerald Brown, one of the greatest plumbers in the land. Because what's happening, many of these companies like Google and Twitter and so forth, they are telling their workers now to stay home. Some have already made that decision to stay home the rest of the year. And some have actually increased the pay of their workers because they're working remotely in an area where the cost of living may have been higher. So they've made adjustments. So that's something we're going to see more and more of as we navigate this new terrain called the pandemic. And as I started earlier in my opening, I'm asking, is it time to change course? Many of you, the answer is yes. We had this 3-month contingency plan that we had put in place. And we figured by July, at least by August, we'd be ready to get back to work. Well, we're at work, but it's not the same work we left back in March. Now, America's confidence on this is split. People who are in areas where the curve has flattened out and started down, we're seeing an increase in confidence. They feel like things are going to be okay. So they're starting to kind of readjust, get ready for the next year or two. People who are in areas where the surge is continuing, their confidence level is quite low, and understandably so. But once again, politics plays a role. If your leaders had taken a more nuanced and sage approach, then maybe your state wouldn't be surging right now, and your confidence would be high, like the ones where the pandemic is going down. Once again, this is what happens when you enter politics into a deadly pandemic. It doesn't have a good outcome. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to talk about a couple of things. And feel free, once again, to join me. Give me a call if you want to join the conversation. This is the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. I'm here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. We're also TV now. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube Live. We're on Periscope TV. We're on Twitter Live. And at some point, we do plan to go back to Radio One. Right now, we're not in the studio over there. They are doing some of the shows remotely, but we just made a decision we'll come back when we can get back in the studio because the way our platform is laid out. So hang on, we're going to take a quick break. Thank you everybody for tuning in this morning. We're going to have a great conversation here talking about some of the challenges of this pandemic and the opportunities. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know I've gloomed and doomed you this morning, but there is a bright side I'm going to be happy to impart with you when I come back from the Marketing Pulpit break. So this is the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back in a minute. Hey, and that music. You have to hear this story about this this band, 98.6 band. The group started about 40 years ago, and they couldn't put their music onto the marketplace because of a copyright issue, and they couldn't get the rights to the music, and the company went out of business, and they couldn't find the so they couldn't put their music out there, and they were just as good as many of the other bands out there, like Earth, Wind and Fire and Cool and Gang. They were right in that genre, and so the one of the band owners was attorney Bradley Thomas, and 40 years later, they resolved the copyright issue. They reclaimed their rights to the music, and they relaunched the 98.6 band. I mean, the band had several members: Gary Thomas, Willie Jolly, Bradley Thomas, David Sinkfield, Tony Smith, Charles Williams, Ronald Thomas, George Porter, Kenneth Jones, Steve Arnett, John Bracey, and Barry Washington. And so go to np6.band to see that story. And if you want to hear some good music that hasn't, it's like virgin music. We've heard all the Earth, Wind, and Fire tunes. We've heard all the Jazz Band. But if you want some good music for the first time, 98.6 Band. And we're glad to have them as one of our sponsors of the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. Thank you very much, guys. This is the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show and TV. I am Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. And I want to thank everybody who's tuning in this morning. And feel free to give me your comments, and we're glad to read them over the airways. This broadcast is broadcast really international. We have people listening and tuning in from around the world. We have a big contingent down in Nigeria, also in Liberia and Kenya. We also have people out of Canada and the United Kingdom. We've had people tuning in and commenting the past few weeks, and we're glad to welcome you. Thank you. That's why we are Marketing Pulpit International. And if you want to join us in any way, support us, become a sponsor, become a guest, go to marketingpulpit.com, and we'll be glad to talk to you and possibly get you on the show. Let's see. Let's talk about. We're talking about some of the news stories, but also I want to talk about some of these. How do we have to reposition and change course? Because this is not a 3-month problem anymore. This pandemic is going to be with us for a while, for some time to come. We're also talking about the downside and the devastating impact of turning this pandemic into a political football. It's literally costing lives, and some some people that are near and dear to us, where I personally feel like they would not still be here if we had taken this pandemic more seriously and we had come together as a country. The problem with this country right now, I'm just going to be frank with you, is that because of politics, racism, sexism, all these other isms, we cannot do what we have to do to make this country all that it can be. These partisan politics is hindering the progress of this country. This country could be the greatest country in the world. But because of some of these long, enduring problems of racism, sexism, these religious battles, we are not the country that we could be. And it's a shame. It is really the greatest tragedy in the history of mankind. So it's really, let's talk about what's going on. Well, first of all, contingency planning. I want you to think about that. Now, when you're doing a business and you write a business plan, we include what we call a contingency plan. In other words, what happens if things go wrong? You have these great ideas, but things happen. So you should always have a contingency plan, whether you're writing it down or whether it's just mental. You should have a contingency plan. Well, many of us had a contingency plan, and we kicked that plan into place because we expected it to be a 3-year hiatus from our normal activities. Well, I am here today to say you should plan for 1 to 2 years and possibly longer to be to be in dealing with the impact of this pandemic. Now, you may not be walking around, you might be back at work, you might be not wearing your mask, but the impact will be with us for at least 1 or 2 years. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's look at some of the things that are happening. First of all, the schools being closed. That has legs, that has long legs, because the school year is not just the time to send kids, put little Tyrone and little Eacher on the bus and send them off to go out here and start doing get some learning. It's also a symbolic beginning of the spending season. And think about it. You know, if many industries, if you do a bell curve of your business cycle, you'll notice that there are certain peaks and valleys throughout the calendar year. And many industries plan on September, end of August, to be the resumption of the spending season. So when you tell the school, when you make an announcement that schools are closed, you basically by default saying there will be no spending season. So that's going to impact many industries, many people, many lives. We gave examples of a bus driver. Bus driver probably saying, "What did I do? I'm just driving these kids to school. All of a sudden, he's out of work." The minute that announcement was made, he was in the unemployment line. Also, daycare workers. We talked about that earlier. Impacted right away. Your job. If the daycare is closed and the school is closed, it impacts you. That also means people aren't buying as many clothing, people aren't buying school supplies. The mechanic at the bus garage, he doesn't have a job. It's almost, and if I can give you another example. Let's imagine one day that there is no first of the year. We decide the first of the year has been moved this year. Guess what happens? All of a sudden, the weight loss industry is impacted because that has been traditionally thought of the beginning of the dieting season. So as we are making these decisions, what I ask you to do as a business owner is look a little further down the line. Don't just look at your immediate impact, how it's affecting you. Look at how it affects your stakeholders. There are many shows on stakeholder relationships. Your stakeholders are the people who have a stake in the success or failure of your business. We're talking about clients, contractors, employees, uh, vendors, suppliers, investors, funders. Think about your stakeholders and how they are impacted. How are your staff impacted? You may have a worker who has 3 children at home, and you send that window to that person to come to work, and all of a sudden they call you and say, "Look, hey, I got 3 kids. The schools are closed, and the daycare center is closed." All of a sudden, you just lost a worker, or you got to make arrangements to accommodate that. You're one of your biggest vendors could be impacted. So you have to, as a business owner, we got to get out of this 3 month planning and start looking how is this going to affect me for the next 1 to 2 years. Okay, because supply chain economics is real. How is the supply chain or your industry being affected for your various stakeholders? So what I'm trying to do today, and I know this is hard because we didn't sign up for this when we decided to become a business owner. We had a great idea. We hung up our shingle for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Things have been great. We're racking in money hand over fist. Now suddenly we have a pandemic on our hand, and we're getting these conflicting signals from our government leaders. We're being told one thing, the numbers are saying something else. You don't know who to believe. Well, let me tell you something. I don't have a cut card. I'm just going to tell you the facts, okay, as I see them. And regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, regardless of your politics, your race, your beliefs on the pandemic or not. These are good, solid. This is good, solid advice. Is for you to look ahead and think about how this is going to affect you for the next few years. Now, I'm giving you the downside things to look into and to be concerned about. Let's talk about the bright side. Yes, folks, I do have some good news today. I know some of y'all get off the ledge now. I know y'all just saying, man, this guy is putting me in. He's depressing me. Come on, Gatewood. Well, look, I'm trying to wake you up. That's what I'm trying to do. This is not normal. And unfortunately, our leaders are not treating it the way they should. They're playing politics with our lives, literally. They're over here fighting over crazy stuff. Who should wear a mask? In the schools should close. I mean, it's just insanity. This country is not the great country it could be. And it's a great American tragedy. The other thing I've been telling people, and I'll repeat it today, is that you have to take care of yourself. Telling you got to do your own research. You got to look out for you and your family. Don't expect these politics to take care of you, these politicians. No, they have an agenda. They're trying to take care of themselves. They're trying to get reelected. And they will say and do whatever it takes to make that happen, even if it means your destruction. I hate to be so blunt about it, but it's true. These are the times we live in. And Lord have mercy, if you're a person of color, it gets particularly precarious. You say, well, the government wouldn't do anything bad for us. I mean, the government is going to take care of us. Well, I tell you, I never forget back in 1935 when the Social Security Act came into place. And of course, Black people, African Americans, whatever we were called back then, they probably called us Negroes, colored, and whatever, a few other names. But whatever we were called back in 1935, we were like, hey, shoot, man, things are about to get better. They just passed this Social Security Act. Because before that, the country was in a bad place. People actually living in poorhouses. You've heard the old term poorhouse? That was actually a reality back in the during the Dust Bowl area when the right after the Great Depression. People were so poor they had to literally set up poorhouses and put people who were on the street in these houses. So to replace that, they came up with the Social Security Act. And of course, my people were like, right on, man, it's about time. We didn't get our reparation. We didn't get our 40 acres and a mule. At least now the government is going to look out for us. Not so fast. They said, well, it's not for these these domestic workers and these agricultural people. It's only for the other folks. In other words, it's for anybody except Black folks. So that's why I say before you start looking at the government to save you, you got to take care of yourself. That's why I push this starting your own business, building your economic foundation. Let's collectively take care of each other. And it's not myopic or saying that, we're only about protecting our own race. But no, we have to, as individuals and as a community, we do have to do better at securing our own economic foundation. Now, let's talk about some of the opportunities here that have presented themselves during this pandemic. Every cloud has a silver lining. Take a lemon and make lemonade. Lemonade. Man, I got thirsty all of a sudden. Instead of having this coffee here, I should start putting lemonade in it. Because people keep saying, Papa, why you drink that coffee? Hey, boys, that's like a good cup of coffee in the morning, I must say. But I would prefer to have lemonade. Man, I went to the store the other day at the sound of sounding cliche and perpetuating a stereotype. I bought a big old watermelon. I know, God, that sounds bad coming out the mouth of a Black person, right? Let me tell you something, folks. I don't care what you think. Man, I tell you, nothing like a good watermelon. Uh, that thing was one of those round ones. Man, I took that thing and cut it in half. Man, I'm telling you, there was nothing better under the sun. Um, but anyway, I don't know how I got on that. I was talking about lemonade and taking lemons and making lemonade. I started thinking about this coffee and that good melon I bought the other day. Maybe I'll just call it a melon. That won't sound quite as bad. Because, boy, we know we got a bad history with certain foods, fried chicken and watermelon. No matter how much you like them, you got to watch how you promote them and talk about them and eat them in public. So, but I just said, be yourself, daggone it. Worry about nobody. I ain't got time to worry about that. I got bigger issues to worry about than who on whether somebody have an issue with my liking a good old cold melon. If they watermelon. Okay, here's the good news about coming out of this pandemic. Now, because of some of the new technologies, your reach has actually been improved. Your ability to reach other people in greater numbers has been improved during this pandemic. In the old days, if somebody wanted to see your presentation or if you wanted to give them a proposal, you had to kind of get your schedules right, and they come to your office, and you go to your office, and you plan this chess game with the schedule and who's going to be available when. Well, now because of the pandemic, you can reach about anybody right now, any time of day. And just like I'm sitting here in front of you right now, you can see them just as clearly. You can see their facial expressions. You can hear them clearly. You can put up presentations. You can show them stuff on the screen. So that's some of the good news. So from a marketing standpoint, and marketing and advertising, it's all about reach. The two types of advertising, the two biggest factors of advertising is frequency and reach. So your reach has been monumentally improved thanks to the pandemic. So think about that. Take that and digest it for a minute. You say, so I got more reach. What does that mean? Well, you can do more presentations. You can do more consultations. You can do more workshops. You can all these things that you've been putting off because you had to go around a building. You had to go out and get an event planner, and you just kept putting it off. Well, now you can do that fairly easily and reach more people now due to some of the heightened awareness. People are more accepting now that you don't have to be in front of people anymore. So that reach, and from a marketing standpoint, I see that as opportunity. And so should you. Think about your business and think about how you can reach more people and start putting your materials, your getting your pitch, getting you a nice, clean background, and getting you some props, and start reaching people. Do that tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Now start today. Start reaching people. Get that Zoom lined up and start Zooming. Daggone it. Now, another thing that's happened out of this pandemic is new services. Even if your services traditionally require physical contact, that does not mean that you can't benefit from this technology and this pandemic. Because right now we're thinking 1 to 2 years versus that 3 to 4 months that we were talking about earlier. So we're going to be into this for a minute. So start thinking about introducing some new services, which could be like an offshoot of some of your field services, but give them a nice, cute name and put some literature together. Maybe it could be digital literature. Put you some nice digital ads together on social media and start testing the water. The threshold is not as high to launch a new service now. So that's happening as we speak. It has happened for my company in a big way. It can happen for you too. I'm going to talk about technology again. This is a great time for you to embrace it. Many of you have shunned technology for various reasons. Either cost, you didn't have the time, you were old school, whatever the reason was. It's time to get off that. Embrace them. Put your arms around it. Okay? Make it your BFF. Now, what does it look like? Okay, Zoom, for instance. I hate to keep promoting Zoom. Zoom should give me a daggone check. So let's just say teleconferencing or give it some generic name. Uh, a new website. Many of you websites were made during when Chad Carpet was around. Uh, get those new websites, the new CMS platforms with some new features and plugins. Social media. I've never been one to try to browbeat somebody into getting on social media, but if you're going to deliver these new services and if you're going to get that reach that we talked about earlier, then social media is a great tool for doing that. You can go into Facebook, and I'm not promoting Facebook because I know some people think Facebook is the devil. But let's just say that you're not one of those people, and you want to reach. You can reach 10,000 people, $25. I mean, literally, you get about 700, 800 people a day, like 25, $30. Uh, so once again, that's that reach, that's that technology. And if you have new services you want to try out, you take them all together and create an ecosystem, create the perfect storm. Online banking. Some people had never used online banking before in their lives. They thought that was the worst thing in the world. They're going to steal my information. They're going to go out and uh, get my house under me. Well, online banking now has become more a norm, and it is pretty neat now. You don't have to drive to the bank to deposit your check. Transfers, ACH, all those things now have been improvements over the past few months. Digital documentation. You don't have to be in front of somebody now to get a document signed. I'm sure Attorney Elsa Smith can probably highlight that, tell me more about that. Because now you can do it digitally. Get your DocuSign or Adobe, one of those programs. And so these are some things that will be post-pandemic. That's the other reason I'm bringing this up. We're being forced into it now because of the pandemic, but when the pandemic is over, we're going to have those advancements. So go ahead and embrace it, grab it, take advantage of it, and give yourself that degree of separation. Now, here's a big one. This is an important one. I want you to listen to this one. Listen carefully. This is branding. Many of those big, well-known brands, they took a major hit during the first wave of this pandemic. Folks went to the store. They wanted some chicken. They didn't care if it was Purdue or Purdue. They wanted a daggone some chicken thighs or breast. They went to the store. They wanted some cleaner to clean those top countertops. You think they cared whether it was Lysol or not? If it's got a little alcohol smell to it and put a little lemon in it, they're gonna spray it. They don't care what was in that bottle. Probably half that stuff wasn't even um, probably wasn't even killing any germs. But my point is, a lot of these big brands took a major hit and they left a brand vacuum. Brand loyalty went out the door. And I know for personally myself, if I went to the store during the pandemic, you think I sat there and said, look, oh, I tell you what, I'm not going to buy any Tide because I'm going to come back when you all get restocked. And I'll just let these dirty virus infected clothes pile up in the lobby here in the foyer. No, you bought what was available. Now, what does that mean for you as a business owner? This is an opportunity to do a reset on a category in which your business operates and functions. It's an opportunity for you to get into the mix. So areas that were where the threshold was too high, and areas where you thought, well, who's going to buy my little old product when they can go buy something? They can buy Microsoft, or they can buy uh, Fubu or J. whomever. Well, many people they drop their brand loyalty, and there has been a reset. And this is an opportunity for you to reassert yourself with your branding. Once again, it has become easier now, monumentally, because of technology and because now you're going to be using some of these technological advances to increase your reach and jump out there and get your ads running in the mix with everybody else's. Many people think they think when they think social media, they say the reason they like it because they say it's free. Yeah, let me tell you something, folks, about this free thing. If the product is free, if the service is free, the product is you. Yes, you can do some free social media, you can do some free anything, but that's not going to get you to that next level. And I'm not just trying to sell somebody services. If you doing organic posts on social media, like I say, and you're trying to reach that audience, yeah, you might have 1,000 followers, but is that the extent of your is that your ambition to just reach that 1,000 people? Some who have already demonstrated they're never going to buy from you? No, you have to reach some strangers, some people you don't know who've never heard of you. I remember when I first started my marketing company, I learned this early on. And I joke about it, I still say it. To reach that next level, you got to get some folks whose names you can't pronounce. As long as everybody had your last name, or Smith and Johnson and Jackson and Gatewood, you're gonna run out of those folks real fast. So to be successful and to scale, you have to reach people who don't look like you. And that's another thing that's been happening during this pandemic. Man, I've gotten so many different races of people knocking on my door. I don't know. This could be a lot of this has to do with the George Floyd thing too. A lot of that racial animus has mitigated, and people have decided to give people a second look. People who don't look like them. So, but they won't. They need to know you exist though. They have to be able to find you. And once again, it has become easier now to get that reach that you need. And here's another one also, an opportunity that's coming out of the pandemic. There's money out there, folks. There's gold in them there hills. We had the EIDL, the PPP, the grants. Uncle Sam is throwing money around. I don't want to say like a drunken sailor, but there's a lot of money out there. Some of you guys would never get this kind of money in the lifetime of your business. The EIDL, they would you can get a loan for 30 years. It's not start being paid back until a year from now. And I think it's like some ridiculously low interest rate. And you could have been in business for 20 years and you could go down to the neighborhood bank where you've been banking all your life and they wouldn't give you any money. Well, now that money has become available and many companies have taken advantage of it. Now, I'm not telling anybody to go out here and get in debt. That's not my goal. That's between me, that's between you, your banker, your partners, and so forth. But my point is, if money has been your issue, then the money is now available for those who seek to get it. So talk to your accountant, go to sba.gov and see what kind of programs are still available. I know they ran out of money a couple of times. They're about to release another wave. So if you need money, money is available now that I can guarantee you would not have gotten otherwise had it not been for this pandemic. And there are corporations out here that are doing some amazing things. I'm not going to call these companies' name, but a big company, one of the big print companies, I got an email in my box, and I guess they knew I was a black-owned business, and say, look, we are supporting the efforts of diversity, and we're reaching out to the community. We're going to give you free printing, and we're going to assign a graphic designer to your company to help you to show our support for the black businesses. I'm like, whoa, man, it's Christmas in July. And I thought they were kidding, right? I said, yeah. I've heard these. I'll write them and they'll tell me, oh, we just ran out of money yesterday. Like one of the other companies that I deal with. They have this big old sign on their homepage, and I think it's still there. We're giving out $100 million to small businesses, fill out the application. Hit the button, oh, we ran out yesterday. Well, anyway, I thought this was another one of those. So I broke the company. I said, what the heck? I'm sitting there with my lunch. I didn't have, I'm so big, I didn't have anything. I didn't have time to sit here and fool with this. So I'm biting my sandwich. Matter of fact, I had a sliced turkey. It was with some cheddar cheese and some. I'm sorry. So anyway, I was eating my lunch. So I applied for this money, and these guys wrote me back, and they wrote me back twice just to prove that they weren't kidding. They said, we're going to give you a $350 credit for our printing, and we're going to assign a graphic designer to design your literature. I'm like, what the, you know what? Once again, I'm like, man, I'm doing like the running man. So my point is, I'm going over the opportunities of this, some of the good things that have come out of this pandemic that will help you position yourself when things get back to normal. But as also I've been saying throughout the show, normal, don't expect to see normal for at least another year. Okay. No, I know. Don't cuss me out. I hear you. No, no, stop. Because we have some rebels on the line. Get them, Rebel Bell. Tell them they can't say that to me. You won't see normal for about another year. Now that doesn't mean you can't do business. You can go to church. You may have to do it differently. You can go get your hair did. Okay, I know folks. Not English, right? But that's the way we sometimes we say it in the hood. You can get your nails, your toes done, but you have to protect yourself. That's been another theme today. You have to take responsibility for your own safety. Wear that mask. If you have a shop, tell those folks they can't come in there. And that's the other thing. It's really ticking me off. These no mask folks. I mean, they're out here beating up folks at Walmart. I hate to be a Walmart greeter right now. I'm just gonna tell you. You're a little old lady trying to make a couple of bucks to supplement your Social Security, and you're here having to fight some big burly guy who won't wear a mask. I think that's putting a little too much. I'm telling you, folks. I think that's putting a little too much responsibility on a job that pays you minimum wage. But who am I, right? I'll tell you something else too. This as I wrap up here. Think about this. In a system of justice, help goes to those who need it the most. Who need it the most. What has happened, unfortunately, during this pandemic is that some of the biggest, most profitable companies in the world have been made bigger and more profitable. I'm not calling your name Amazon and Walmart because, first of all, they didn't have to shut down. And if they had a restaurant in there, that means people could still eat. They're still selling clothes, they're selling everything under the sun, even selling some of the things that other companies were required to shut down because that was their primary source of revenue. That is why I am going to be one of those folks. I'm going to sound like the Yang guy who was running for president. I am all in favor of universal basic income. I didn't have a fancy name for it earlier. Really, last year I started talking about this. I didn't even know what to call it, but I knew there was going to come a time where you're going to have to just give people money because so many people are being displaced by technology, globalism, that you can't train people fast enough to fill the jobs that are being eliminated. But they still have to eat. They still need shelter. So what we need as a country, as a global community, and like I say, once again, we can solve these problems if we work together and remove some of these divisive issues. We actually have enough money, enough resources. If we just came together, that comes back to leadership or lack thereof. And some of this myopia, people going into little corners and it's me against us, us against themism. Um, so the big companies have gotten richer during the pandemic. So we as a society have to be creative and put pressure on our leaders to make sure that everybody gets to eat and have a roof over their head. I think these companies, nobody should be. I think Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, I think this guy's like $170 billion. Nobody should be that rich. Nobody's that smart. Okay. No reason that the people that's out there on the front line shouldn't be making 30, 40 bucks an hour. That's what would happen in a system of justice. There's no reason in the world that somebody makes us $180 billion a year and some people don't have health insurance. That is so wrong on so many levels. So, but what I have to do as a grassroots marketer, business developer, is to do things that's going to, one, get us through the day, help us feed ourselves, build economic viability in our community, put people to work. But at the same time, my undergrad, even though I have a business master's degree in business, my undergrad was in political science and pre-law. And so I'm going to be continuing wearing both hats. And so if my show start to spill into the political arena, then just reminding you again, that's my background. So I'm entitled. I'm entitled. I'm going to wrap things up here. I once again want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank everybody online. Uh, Sister Bell, uh, love you guys down in North Carolina. Love my folks here in the DC area. That's what I like about this marketing pulpit audience. Man, we got people from everywhere. I have my college alumni. I have my folks I grew up in Carolina with. I have my good friends and clients here in the Washington, D.C. area. I have my brothers and sisters over in the motherland, the people up in Canada, and the people down in, even have one person from Mexico. So I like this show. I like the fact you're listening, and I'm going to be here. What I want you to do also is let's let's keep the dialogue going. Now, my company, Gatewood Marketing and Web, we have we are a business service, but I'm also I would say I'm a missionary of sorts. That's why the show is Marketing Pulpit. I have my Gatewood Marketing, which is the business arm of of my services. But the Marketing Pulpit, yeah, we have paid sponsors to help us reach more people. But for the most part, it is a ministry so that we can talk and dialogue, get to know each other, tackle some of these problems head on. And so I will always be here to be that voice, to hear your comments. Um, I hate Sister Loretta, and thank you, Laura. She's a great show as usual. Brother Brown, thank you again for saying good to see you as well. Um, so I'm going to be here. And so, yes, I'm glad to see you guys. I'd like you to share the show if you can and let people know every Friday at 10:30 a.m. that the Marketing Pulpit TV show is available to help us through these challenging times. And I invite you to make your comments. If you want to come on as a guest and talk about it with me, I see Reverend Curtis Gatewood. Hey, that brother, man, you're talking about somebody who's out there shaking things up, setting things on fire, and fighting this racism and all these other ills that are going on in our community. What's the old saying? You got to have some fundraisers, but you got to have some hell raisers too. Brother Curtis, he's glad to. Man, he does both. He's a really dynamic young man. I'm going to have him on the show pretty soon as well. Working on his new website. As soon as we get that up, I want to get him on here and talk about what he's doing out in the community. So it takes all of us. It takes a village. And I want to thank everybody again for tuning in to the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. Once again, oh yeah, I forgot to say it. Oh my goodness, I was going to say it earlier, but also Brother John Lewis. His show has been dedicated to his memory. Brother John Lewis, we know him from the Edmund Pettus Bridge. He also was the speaker right before Dr. Martin Luther King. He was in Congress from the state of Georgia, and he passed away this past year. Matter of fact, he and Brother Ellis and C.T. Vinny, they all passed at the same time. So we've had a really tough week as far as losing some of our leaders. And so to Brother John Lewis and his family, praying for you. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for everything that you've done. And for all the folks out here, stop getting him mixed up with Elijah Cummings. I knew the minute they announced his death, I thought, oh boy, get ready. Here they come. And before I could even turn the TV off, here come Marco Rubio and another guy. They putting their pictures up on Facebook with Elijah Cummings instead of John Lewis. Now here's a little for anybody, if any of you guys get confused, then I'm going to go. I did a little research myself. If you want to separate Dr. King, John Lewis, and Elijah Cummings, there's 11 years between Dr. King and John Lewis, and another 11 years between John Lewis and Elijah Cummings. So sometimes that year, that chronology can help you keep everybody straight. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning into the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. Support our sponsors, support our advertisers, support our guests. On the first Friday, we have Sister Bernadette Clay from the BLE Executive Suites. On the second Friday, we have Sister Falasha Day. She's the accountant. The third Friday, we have Sister Wina Collins. She's a therapist. And on the fourth Friday, we have Sister Candace Camille. She was having a little challenges today, so she'll be back next week on the fifth Friday. And right on, Sister Bell, she said, rest in power to our civil rights icons. Folks, I hate to leave you guys, but got a whole list of clients and people I got to jump on. I'm going to say this, folks, before I leave. I don't do this. Sometimes I even ask myself why I do this. But when you're on a mission and you have a purpose, then it becomes abundantly clear. Nobody pays me to sit here and do this every week. I do this because it's my duty and my calling, just like many of you out there are doing things because it's your duty and your calling. And I say thank you to each and every one of you for your contributions to the struggle. And we'll be back next week at the same time here on the Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. And thank you again for listening. I'm Robert Gatewood, and I am out of here.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.